Please be seated. Order, honorable members. Please take up your allocated seats so that we can proceed with the session for this afternoon. Honourable members, I've been informed that the Minister of Public Service and Administration and the Minister in the Presidency are not available to answer questions today. The Ministers have requested that their questions stand over in terms of Rules 144, Sub-Rule 1, Paragraph A, and 144, Sub-Rule 2. The questions will therefore stand over, and these questions will be scheduled in consultation with the Program Committee. The first item, yes, Honourable Member, the Honourable Michaelakis.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, I accept the reasons that you gave. I do just want to point out that quite a great number of questions on the order paper today are standing over, and I would just like to request that that be taken up with the Leader of Government Business, that this doesn't become a tendency. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Reddy.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. The MK Party wants to express our disappointment at the fact that these ministers are not here to answer important questions. You know, the only way that we can hold the executive accountable is during this question session. And when they choose not to come here, with complete disregard for this House, I think it's a matter that needs to be taken up a little bit more seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, may I indicate that I had a discussion with the Honourable Speaker just before the session. And indeed, the Speaker is treating the matter with the necessary seriousness and is taking up the matter with the Leader of Government Business. In response to the Honourable Michaelakis, in terms of the number of questions that may potentially stand over today, that is a matter that we are cognizant of, and it will be discussed, and the Programming Committee will be advised accordingly. It is indeed important for members of the Executive to honour question days because it is one of those important mechanisms to hold the Executive accountable. Honourable Swart.
Honourable Chair, I rise on Rule 92, but I would like to, and I'm sure the House is fully aware that the Minister of Public Service was here yesterday, but he has been hospitalised. Now, I'm not condoning them not being, or the Executive not being in Parliament, but let us also be aware that emergencies do happen. The Deputy Minister has an emergency as well. So we appreciate that, and we need to also trust that the Minister will recover, having been in hospital. So let us also bear that in mind as well. We received that message beforehand. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honourable members, I now want to proceed with the question session, and the rules indeed, Honourable Swart, make provision for instances like this. The first item on today's, the MK, do you want another intervention?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's not good enough all the time that when these excuses are coming up here in the House, I must make it very, very clear that some of the ministers, not all of them, in particular from that side, they are undermining this House. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honourable members. As I've indicated, the matter is being treated with the necessary seriousness by the Speaker. The first item on today's order paper is questions addressed to ministers in Cluster 3 governance. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are and the guide must be amended here. This was done to facilitate the participation of members who are going to take following up questions. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, amongst others, have been applied. The first question has been asked. Let me just complete this. I'll come now to you, Honourable Member. The first question has been asked by the Honourable Matiwane to the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Before I put the question, I recognise the Honourable Member at the back.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I was actually had my hand up before you started the reading, but because I didn't want to interfere in your reading. Honourable Chair, I was just wondering, it's very hot outside, and ever since we've joined these sittings, the water that we get is very hot. Is there no way we can get cool or cold water in this? I mean, really, we know for weeks beforehand that we're having these meetings, and really, we don't even drink this water. A lot of it goes wasted. Thank you, Chair, Honourable Chair.
It's noted, Honourable Member. It's a fair request, and the matter will be attended to.
Thank you, sir.
Honourable Member.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chair. I'm actually rising on the part 2 of questions for oral reply. The section 138. It says here on section 138(4), if a minister and his or her deputy minister are absent on the day when questions relating to the relevant ministry are to be answered, the minister may authorize another cabinet member to reply to a questions directed at that minister, provided that the cabinet member so authorized is able to respond competently to any permissible supplementary questions that may be asked. So I think the fact that the ministers are absent should not be an excuse for them not to take this august house seriously and respond to the oral questions. So, at some point, I think we need to hold them accountable. This is the house that we here to hold ministers accountable for reply. Thank you so much, Chair.
Yes, no, you're reading the rule correctly, Honourable Member, and indeed you indicate may. It may, not must. But may I be cognizant of the input that you're making and say that in this instance, an acting minister was not, or another minister was not requested to fulfill that obligation due to certain instances, as the Honourable Swart has also referred to, where a minister has fallen ill and the other one indeed have a bereavement that came up. So no arrangement to that effect has been made. The Honourable Ntlangwini.
Thank you very much, House Chair. We send our condolences to the Deputy Minister and the family members. But nevertheless, House Chair, it is actually very irresponsible for the Minister to have not used that rule to at least pay respect to the work that members of Parliament are doing. Because we plan the program of Parliament long in advance as Parliament for the convenience of members of Parliament and convenience for cabinet ministers. And this, not appointing and using that rule to at least show respect for members' questions, it's really irresponsible. And I'm pleading with you, House Chair, that in this 7th Parliament, let us not take the rules for granted for one and take this questioning sessions all the time for granted, because it has become just some form of just a compliance process for ministers and not actually adhering to the work of Parliament. And that is really disappointing. So because members of Parliament go to length preparing, and I'm preparing this, repeating this yet again, they go to length preparing these questions from the constituencies, and yet for a minister to not even, at least in his absence, appoint a cabinet minister on his behalf to answer to those questions that members are asking. It has become really a strain in our work, and it's irresponsible for ministers to behave like this. Thank you.
Thank you, honourable members. I do indeed take note of these important inputs you're making, and it will be conveyed by the Speaker to the Leader of Government Business.